Welcome to Forthright, the podcast with, for and by women writers.
We have some brilliant guest writers lined up for you this season, covering a wide range of genres and experience.
We hope you enjoy.
Please note this episode comes with a trigger warning for discussion of suicide. Hello and welcome to the Forthright podcast. I'm Sam.
And I'm Anna, and today we're absolutely delighted to have Effie Black. Hello, Effie.
Hello. Hi.
Hi. So Effie Black is a London-based writer with a background in science. She enjoys writing from a queer perspective, and she likes bringing a spot of science into her fiction too. Effie's short stories have appeared in Litro and the Epoque magazine é-zine. Effie's debut novel, In Defence of the Act, was published in July 2023 by Epoque Press and was longlisted for the 2024 Women's Prize for Fiction.
Oh, yeah, it's very exciting to have you with us. And Effie's going to do a reading from In Defence of the Act, so I'll read the blurb for that. Are we more like a coffee bean, a carrot, or an egg? What happens to us when we are boiled in the trials and tribulations of life? Jessica Miller is fascinated by the somewhat perplexing tendency of humans to end their own lives. But she secretly believes such acts may not be that bad after all. Or at least she did. Jessica is coming to terms with her own relationships and reflecting on what it means to be queer when a single event throws everything she once believed into doubt. Can she still defend the act? Oh, so I absolutely love this book, so I'm really excited to hear it in your voice. Would you like to just let us know kind of whereabouts you're reading from?
Oh, yeah, great. Thank you for inviting me on. And yeah, I'm going to be reading from the first chapter. We're joining Jessica halfway through the first chapter. She's in a resilience session, workshop, run by someone whose name she isn't sure of, if it's Amy or Anne, so she's calling them Amy Anne, and it's all been quite awkward so far. So yeah, we've had lots of definitions of resilience, and now we're joining her.
Brilliant.
Now Amy Anne wants to share her absolute favourite definition. To do this, she says she must show us an animated video and requests that we please give her a moment to set it up. She fiddles with her laptop for a bit. The fiddling is normal fiddling at first. It always takes time to pull up a video. But it's clear to everyone when after a few moments, the fiddling switches from normal fiddling to panicked fiddling. The embedded video isn't working. That's okay. I'll just go to the video directly on YouTube. This animation really is worth seeing, she assures us. But YouTube isn't loading because the laptop isn't connected to the conference hotel's Wi-Fi. We watch Amy Ann try and fail to connect several times. The guest login was working earlier, she tells us. People are shifting in their seats. The nice, middle-aged answering woman behind me is one of the many now letting out not-so-nice sighs. Quiet chatter begins at the back of the room and spreads forward. The quiet chatter grows to become simply chatter and then starts to verge on rather loud chatter. Eventually, a technical person steps in to help. I feel relieved at first, but quickly realise this is far worse. With the technical expert now taking over the fiddling, Amy Ann is left at a loose end, staring out at us, murmuring apologies and reassurances. Things have gone from boring to awkward. She makes a joke about how perfect it is that in this session about resilience, her own resilience is being tested right in front of us. No one laughs. I feel sorry that no one laughs, even out of simple kindness, yet I myself remain markedly not laughing. Something about Amy Ann makes it difficult to be kind to her. I ponder how someone can possibly become a professional public speaker without being terribly good at public speaking, but then I remember I am a scientist who isn't terribly good at science, so all things are possible. Finally, the tech hand gives a guilty shake of his head. No video today. Amy Ann is in a tough spot, but teaching the course through example, she bounces back. She decides to simply tell us the story instead. She leans back on the desk at the front and begins. She stumbles with the tale, a lot. She has to restart it a few times. I can't be the only one in the room wondering how many times Amy Ann's actually watched the video she wanted so desperately to show us. She must have watched it at least once, of course, but maybe only once. Anyway, this is the gist. One day a daughter was complaining to her mother. She had so many troubles and they just kept on coming. It was making her too sad to function. There seemed nothing she could do. She was at her wit's end. Her mother beckoned her into the kitchen and told her to watch as she put 3 saucepans of water on the stove until the water was boiling. In one, she placed a carrot, in one, an egg, and in one, a coffee bean. Her daughter understandably didn't know what the hell was going on. But after a while, the mother asked her to take the carrot out of the water and tell her what she saw. What she saw was a boiled carrot. Then the daughter took out the egg and saw a boiled egg. Same with the coffee bean. The mother explained that the carrot, the egg, and the coffee bean had all suffered the same adversity, the boiling water. The carrot had responded to this adversity by becoming soft and mushy. The struggle had transformed it from hard to fragile. Anyone could smush it now. The egg responded by growing tough. It looked the same from the outside, but its heart had hardened to the world. But look at the little coffee bean. It too had entered the boiling water, yet it had come out unchanged. Not only that, the mother said as she sipped the resulting coffee, the bean had changed the water. The rest of the Honing Your Resilience session flies by in a blur of small group sharing, personal goal setting, and mindfulness training involving staring at and eating a single raisin for an inordinate amount of time, none of which leaves much of an impression on me. But I do emerge knowing 3 things. 1, Amy Ann's name is actually Annie. It said so on the final slide, and it fits her perfectly. 2, I will never try to use a video in a presentation, ever. And 3, I'd love to be a coffee bean, but I'm a complete and utter egg.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think I really enjoyed like Jessica's character and her worldview and sort of way of classifying things, and seeing how that kind of scientific brain works in different aspects of her life. How was that to write? Is your brain quite like that as well?
I think I've certainly got a tendency. So my background is in science, and though I'm not quite as extreme as Jessica, yes, a little bit. And I certainly know a lot of people who are quite like her. And I think it was fun to represent that. And it was interesting to look, I suppose, at something that's quite taboo, like suicide. The book is about suicide, through quite a, I suppose, cold and clinical scientific lens. In theory, though we get to know that it's not so cold and clinical at all. It's certainly influenced by personal experiences. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to step into that more extreme scientific way of thinking. But it's definitely a tendency I might have. Yeah.
And so, her was sort of her way of looking at things. Was that your starting point for the book?
Yeah, definitely. She was the starting point. I at the time of starting writing it, I'd experienced some loss, some grief, and suicide was part of some of that. And so I was reading around the subject, and I came across some evolutionary theories of suicide, and some of them just intrigued me. And I thought, this is interesting. I wonder what if there was someone who was arguing that, basically there are theories that suicide might be based on altruistic tendencies, and they kind of use altruistic suicides in insects and animals, like the idea of bees stinging intruder to protect the hive, even though the bee will die. This is a classic example. They kind of use that as a kind of basis to say, maybe this is happening in humans. So there are people kind of arguing this, but I think no one quite as harsh as Jessica. I thought, well, what if there was someone who was saying, it's exactly the same, actually. It's not just this kind of basis that's then maybe gone wrong, or something else has to be a factor. What if it is actually beneficial in lots of cases for furthering genes for the people around that person, which is a very obviously controversial viewpoint, but it kind of intrigued me. And why would you think that? And I guess it fed into this idea of science as an apparently amoral endeavor. As a kind of objective thing, and actually we learn, well, even though she thinks she's being so objective about this, it's actually influenced by things that have happened to her at some point. Yeah.
And I guess with that as well, I mean, we're talking about it from a scientific perspective as well, but from an emotive perspective, it's the book's dealing with some quite heavyweight subjects. So how do you, as a writer, go about protecting yourself when you're writing about the big stuff like this?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. In part, the book, I think, is kind of funny, or it has some light-hearted bits in it.
Definitely.
And I think that's possibly part, you know, who knows, in a kind of, if I was really analysing it, maybe that protected me a bit, because there was some distance and some humorous, lighter things I was writing about as well.
And humour's a very good way of being able to access some of the really big things as well, just in life in general as well, isn't it?
Exactly. I think it's such an important part of human experience and sharing.
Absolutely.
But also I think she, as a character, probably had a sort of defense mechanism as well. So though it's I guess a double-edged sword of a really important way to process things, but possibly a distancing and defense mechanism as well. But I think that helped in terms of protecting myself. I didn't write this in kind of one big chunk as well. So I was fitting this in wherever I could, around work and various other things. So that probably offered just some inadvertent protection. Possibly if I'd sat with it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and did nothing else, that might have meant I was more engrossed in it. So I think that possibly if that's not happening naturally, I guess people could take breaks to get real life coming in as well. But also for me, I was going through kind of, like I said, I was going through some grief and processing some loss. So in a way it was quite cathartic. Perhaps it itself was some protection to what I was going through in my real life, if you see what I mean.
And so did you, we're talking about you writing it in bits and pieces kind of all over the place. How do you then kind of have the continuity of the story? Did you have a plan that you were working from, or are you more of a gardener when it comes to working out your story? And
do you have to go back and read quite a lot before then you kind of enter back into your story, or can you just pick it up from where you were?
Yeah, I like that. I like that the gardener idea. I think I'm not a planner, so I think I think this actually happens with my short stories as well. Like I often see like the beginning and the end of the story, and then have to fill in the middle. Like, okay, well, how do we go from there to there then? So I actually wrote some of the end first, and because this is quite episodic, the book, I didn't write it all in order, or not in the order that it is, kind of now put in for the book. So I think I just came to what I fancied at first. I had images of scene, and I would, in my head, and I would, when I got some time, write it. And then I stepped back at a certain point and was like, I think I probably need a plan. I think I need to understand how this is happening. And then I had a very rough overview of chapters. And because it's episodic, I was kind of moving them around, like, oh no, I think people should know this first. So it meant that I could come and write whatever I fancied writing, to begin with at least, and then at some point I had to say, okay, well, this chapter hasn't been written yet, so I better work on that today.
Was that quite hard then, kind of working out what order to put stuff in?
A little bit. You're kind of, I mean, it's weird, I've never done anything like this before, really. So yeah, you're kind of trying to think about, a reader's reaction. And like, I want them to get attached to I want them to understand this now, and I want them to. So yeah, it was a little difficult. I mean, certain things had to happen in certain places, but others, yeah, there was a bit of fiddling around. Yeah.
I think that, and as well, it just sort of struck me as you were saying that there's so much that kind of happens in between the episodes that as the reader, you're just sort of filling bits in yourself. Yeah, it's really, yeah, I just really loved it.
And Effie, I know you just said a moment ago about with this process, kind of you hadn't done something like this beforehand, and I guess with that is, you know, as a debut novelist, how did it feel like to be included in the Women's Prize long list?
It still feels extremely shocking. It's ludicrous. It's amazing. Obviously, it's like the best feeling perhaps I've ever felt, and I'm not even exaggerating. Yeah, I was like, gosh, is this the best thing that's ever happened to me? So it was really, really amazing, and you get a real insight, I guess, into, wow, okay, this is how this stuff works.
Yeah.
And I feel very, very lucky that it obviously got in front of the right people on the way, you know, the right judge who liked it to put it forward. And so, yeah, there's a big bit of luck involved in all of this, but yeah, it feels amazing.
Well, it was extremely well deserved, but I guess, you know, it is a debut novelist's dream, isn't it?
I don't think it was my dream. I don't think I would have ever tried to dream that. Yeah. I don't think I could ever, especially because it was published by very, very small press. So I did try to get an agent. I still don't have an agent. If anyone wants to be my agent, let me know. But yeah, I did try to get an agent, and had some nice comments, but no one took it up. And so I had to go to small presses that would take manuscripts directly, submissions directly. And yeah, Epoch Press, they're wonderful, but they are very, very small. So the reach is obviously a bit limited. Because of that, though, it's great. They do so much work on it. So this long listing has really improved that. People, lots of people are reading it, which is amazing.
Oh, fantastic. And I guess as well with the novel, I'm just thinking, having previously written short stories, how has the experience been from going from short story to writing in long form?
Oh, it's long, isn't it?
It really is, isn't it?
It just, I think, especially because I'm not doing it full time at all. It's a long old slog, and you kind of just think, oh, will this ever be finished? But yeah, so it's and it's quite a short novel actually, as they go, but it still felt like that. Like I couldn't really set myself a deadline or really anticipate when this process would ever finish. I just had to enjoy the process. Because if I wasn't enjoying the process, why was I doing this very long thing? It's different. I think the short story thing is much more of an immediate hit. You can actually think, oh, if I work on this for a few days, it will be done. Whereas, it did take a couple of years. And I had no idea how long it would take, and it was this very big nebulous thing, and the document's so long it's hard to even see it anymore. You know, like you need other people to look at it really to tell you what it is anymore by the end. With
the short story, because, you know, in your bio you said that you've obviously had a short story that was in the Epoch Press e-zine. So do you think that was a good then kind of introduction for you as a writer with Epoch, and would you recommend kind of that as a way in, I guess?
Yeah, definitely. I think they were. I think they paid. Well, you'd have to ask them, but I think they paid more attention to the manuscript, probably because they had already decided, okay, this person can probably write, because we've included a couple of stories in our e-zine. And I think that is what Sean from Epoch Press said when I sent in a longer manuscript. They were like, oh, we better look at this, because we like her writing. So I think even if it's not the same, the same publisher publishing the e-zine, I guess having some short stories out there just says I can do this. So I'm doing this. So obviously, if that's what you like doing, I do also like writing short stories. So it didn't feel like an effort to do that.
So can we ask what you're working on now?
You can. It'll be quite a short answer, not that. I've actually gone back to writing a couple of short stories.
Have you?
Just to try to get myself back in the game. I think I sat down at my computer and thought, okay, because I do have another idea, and I actually had the idea once I'd started to write in defence of the Act and tried to switch to it. I was like, oh, maybe I want to write this now, but I'm a completer finisher, so I couldn't. I had to go back and finish in defence of the Act. But now I think, okay, let's do that other idea. But I am finding it, just to be honest, a little daunting, a little overwhelming. So I'm starting with some short stories where I can feel progress a bit quicker, with the goal, which is kind of what I did when I got stuck at certain points with In Defence of the Act. I went and wrote a couple of short stories just to get myself back into it. And then, the plan is to get onto a second novel. But I feel some pressure now, because I did this novel really secretively. I didn't tell many people I was doing it at all, and I certainly didn't give progress updates or anything. So there was just no pressure. I was just writing it for me. And so I'm trying to recreate that feeling inside myself, but it's easier said than done.
Yeah, I think there's absolutely something very liberating about writing for the falling in love with your story and and especially kind of if you are a gardener and seeing where this story ends up, but then to have such high praise for your novel, I can imagine that yes, it's it must be a tricky thing to then start thinking about your second novel. But I love the idea of also having short stories as a form that is a continuous source of kind of creative nourishment while you're waiting to then get stuck into your big project as well.
Yeah, definitely. It feels, exactly. It feels like, okay, maybe I can still do this, even though I'm a bit scared to take on that very big project. I also am not sure how I found the time, if I'm honest. Some of it was during the pandemic, so that, because there was nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So that helped a bit. That was only really the second half of it. But I have to be more disciplined, I think.
I've actually read In Defence of the Act for my book group, and we haven't met yet to talk about it. We were supposed to meet a few weeks ago, and then for various reasons it didn't happen. So I think it's next week we're going to meet. And I just wondered if you could give me a question about the book that you think would get us really kind of...
She's totally cheating. I want some help with her book group now she's speaking with the author.
Like I haven't done my homework.
Well, thank you for reading it and for reading it for your book group. That's amazing. I love book groups. So that's so cool. Maybe how does everyone feel about, or how did everyone feel about Jessica's theory, evolutionary theory of suicide to begin with? How did you feel by the end? How do you think Jessica views suicide by the end? Yeah. How do you see her feeling about it by the end? I guess are some questions you could discuss.
Yeah.
That could bring out some interesting opinions.
I think you've totally got Sam out of a tight spot there now. And when talking of Jessica as well, we talked about how she came about and some of her interests or her kind of areas of expertise mirror those of your own. But in terms of the character, what do you do to make your characters feel real? Yes, how do you kind of create all the magic that goes around it, so when people read your books, it just feels like a whole rounded person?
Yeah, I don't know, and I'm glad to hear that she did feel real. But I think possibly, with some of the characters, though this is all totally fiction, I am drawing on people I know. Little quirks, the little personality quirks, the little ways of speaking, quirky opinions and things that they do that make them real. Yeah, that make them them and not someone else. So there's a bit of that. I think, I didn't necessarily need you to like her, but I want you to understand her. And so I think she does show quite a vulnerability, quite, like an honesty, a vulnerability, as well as this kind of real strident, controversial opinion. And so I think that makes her hopefully a bit well-rounded. Yeah. And you spend so much time with her because it's a first-person kind of narration and you see so many different experiences of her life, so many different interactions and relationships that she has, that I think hopefully some authenticity is coming through in that. To do it in a shorter space of time, or with like a character that has less of that inner monologue, I think is probably more difficult. Yeah. But yeah, for her, because you're hearing so much of her inner monologue, it's those quirky opinions, it's the humour, it's the vulnerability that hopefully makes her believable.
It just made me think, who were we talking to last week who'd said that they couldn't write something in the first person because it was too close?
Yeah, it was a discussion with a writer where they were saying it's easier to be able to kind of impose a different perspective from third person, because in first person, you are experiencing something moment by moment. So I think, it's interesting, isn't it? I think it's a very different relationship from writer to writer, but yes, I'm the thing that I'm writing at the moment is in third person for the reason that when I started in first person, I kind of wrote myself into a bit of a corner. So it's interesting how different writers approach it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I definitely with this thought long and hard about it was going to be third person, and then it was first person, and with the next thing that I want to write, I'm still not sure, if it should be first person or third person. So it's and I had to rewrite some things, having already done it third person and then actually make it first person. So it's interesting to hear other writers having that struggle, but I think when it's first person, for me it kind of felt like acting, and I haven't acted before, but it really felt like it kind of embodying her, even at really quite emotional times. It was in the story, I would be feeling it, and even now when I read it, it's like I'm there, even though this is not me and this has never happened to me. It kind of felt like acting. I'm not sure. I think that's the struggle I'm having with the next one. Like, is it going to be first? Is it going to be third? And if it's going to be first, I need to get into the character. I need to, somehow find them.
Well, I can't believe that we've sort of come towards the end of our time with you today, because it's gone very quickly. So just wondered, in terms of our listeners, quite a lot of emerging writers or new to writing, and I wondered what advice you would give to them, or what you wish you'd kind of been told when you were starting out.
I think the best advice, everyone responds differently to different advice, don't they? But the best advice I heard, and I'm really ashamed to say that I can't remember who said it, but it was a literary festival talk, and there was a panel. and someone was asking about should they do courses and should they do this, and should they what should they do in preparation for writing, and lots of different questions. And one of the panelists, I guess, was quite was just quite hard line, like, just write. Just write. Why are you asking me this question? Just write. And I think it felt like it was directed at me, because I'd been saying I was going to write something, or in my head at least, saying I was going to write something for a while and not doing it. And I was attending this festival because, I knew I wanted to write. And I guess that maybe spurred me into action. And I thought, I guess I do just have to write at some point. So it's not profound, but I guess just get into it, just sit and do it, because you'll rewrite it anyway. You can overthink it beforehand, definitely. So just get into it and do it.
Brilliant, Effie. So yes, if you want to write, crack on. Let's get writing, and then brilliant. So Effie, if listeners want to find you, are you on the socials? And if so, what are your handles?
My publisher said I had to be, so I'm not terribly good on them, I will say, but I won't fill up your timeline. So yes, please do follow me. I'm on X, and I'm on Instagram. If you just it's Effie Black. I can't remember if there's an underscore or something, but we can
always put it in the show notes as well for people.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your honesty and your brilliant advice, and for reading from your book as well. It's been a real joy to speak to you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me on. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the Forthright podcast.
Check out our website, forthright.uk, for further writing resources.